مرحبا. هو صح إنه أنا جبت طاولة جديدة وضوء جديد متسطح على شاطئ البحار. بس أنا نفسي ما تغيرت. هلا أنا إلي قاعدة يعني بخطط ل يعني تغيير السيت اب وفكر بالأضواء وهيك يعني. فلسه يعني السيت اب هو لسه ما خلص. واكشلي النص كان جاهز من تقريبا أسبوع وإشي. بس قُلت إنه خلص أنا ما رح أسجله إلا لحد ما يكمل الsetup على الآخر، لحد ما أجيب كل الأضواء ولحد ما أعرف شو الbackground اللي بدي أحطها ورا وهيك. بس بعدين كنت قاعدة عم باقرأ بكتاب، فرح أقرأ لكم الإشي اللي خلّاني أسجل قبل ما يكتمل النص، قبل ما يكتمل الsetup كامل. Part of my joy in learning is that it puts me in a position to teach. Nothing, however outstanding and however helpful, will ever give me any pleasure if the knowledge is to be for my benefit alone. If wisdom were offered me on the one condition that I should keep it shut away and not divulge it to anyone, I should reject it. There is no enjoying the possession of anything valuable unless one has someone to share it with. أوكي، هلأ بقدر أبلش أحكي عن موضوع اليوم. This is George Washington, the first president of the United States, and this is a map of his Mount Vernon estate from the 18th century, which is the nation's most visited historic sites located in the state of Virginia. Apart from his victorious accomplishments and his emergence as a resilient leader during the American Revolutionary War, George Washington was actually known for his profound interest in farming and grew various types of crops, such as wheat, corn, cabbage, etc. In fact, he expanded Mount Vernon from 2,000 acres into approximately an 8,000-acre property comprising 5 farms. In this map, we notice the 5 farms and the grist mill/distillery that he owned. In simple terms, a grist mill is a machine where grains are crushed and ground into fine powder. The verb mill means to crush grain into flour or another substance into powder. Another form of the verb mill is mull, which also means to grind or mix thoroughly. In fact, there is an alcoholic beverage called mulled wine, which refers to wine, most often of a red selection, infused with a variety of fruits and spices then served warm. Therefore, it is called mulled wine since it is mixed and heated with mulled or ground spices. Similarly, a while back, I read A Christmas Carol for Charles Dickens, and I remember that I came across a term that I didn't understand. Let's check it out. I'll raise your salary and endeavor to assist your struggling family, and we will discuss your affairs this very afternoon over a Christmas bowl of smoking bishop. Bob. A smoking hot beverage known as a smoking bishop is made by mulling wine and port with the juice of roasted bitter oranges, cloves, star anise, sugar, and rarely cinnamon. In contrast to conventional mulled wine, which can occasionally be overpowering, a smoking bishop uses fewer spices. Steering away from the previous context and delving into a more psychological one, mull also means to think about carefully and to consider at length. It is to ponder and turn over in one's mind. Mull is often combined with over. So for instance, we can say, he mulled over the variety of suicidal options. So overall, mull means to grind or mix thoroughly, and we can conclude that mulling over thoughts is perhaps derived from the figurative use of mull. So just like we grind something into powder, we also often succumb to grinding our own thoughts. أما باللغة العربية فترجمة مل هي التفكير ملياً، الإمعان في الفكر والتأمل. نقول أيضاً استبصر الشيء أي تأمله، واستبصر تختلف عن أبصر التي تعني نظر بعينه المجردة فرأى، أو أدرك بحاسة البصر دون تأمل. في كمان كلمة أبصر هاي بنستخدمها بالعامية لما مثلا حدا يسألك شيء وإنت ما بتعرف شو الجواب، فبسألك بحكي لك وين راحت البنت دينا مثلا، تحكي له أبصر ما بعرف. فيمكن أبصر العامية اشتقت من استبصر، بس يعني هاي فتاوي لغوية فما تاخدوها بعين الاعتبار. Another term for mull is ruminate, which is defined by Merriam-Webster as going over in the mind repeatedly and often casually or slowly. Moreover, in psychology and according to an article published by Medical News Today in 2014, rumination is defined as follows. I quote, "Ruminating thoughts are excessive and intrusive thoughts about negative experiences and feelings. A person with a history of trauma may be unable to stop thinking about the trauma, for example, while a person with depression may persistently think negative, self-defeating thoughts." On a similar, slightly revolting note, there is a process called cud chewing or rumination, through which the cow regurgitates recently ingested feed and continues to chew on it. So if you find yourself ruminating over your own thoughts, imagine a field of cows and that'll be enough to halt your thinking process. Just try not to overthink your thoughts like a cow overthinks its food. But on a more serious note, an advice to control rumination or the fear from obsessive thoughts comes from Seneca the Younger, a Roman philosopher who formed a permanent and significant contribution to Stoicism. And Stoicism is a school of thought that emerged during the ancient Greek and Roman times and considered a mode of conduct revolving around mind tranquility and moral worth. It also provided answers to stress, anxiety, and fear. Seneca wrote the Moral Letters to Lucilius, which is a series of 124 letters on daily life and Stoicism. The letters are also found in the famous book, Letters from a Stoic. The 13th letter is called On Groundless Fear, and Seneca shares the below thought with his friend and correspondent, Lucilius. I quote, "There are more things, Lucilius, likely to frighten us than there are to crush us. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. What I advise you to do is not to be unhappy before the crisis comes. Accordingly, some things torment us more than they ought. Some torment us before they ought, and some torment us when they ought not to torment us at all. We are in the habit of exaggerating or imagining or anticipating sorrow. We shall consider later whether these evils derive their power from their own strength or from our own weakness."